Was quite known for her feisty personality.
Feeling that we got when they came out with the baby, we couldn't miss it again. We couldn't miss this one.
Princess Charlotte just slipped onto a plane looking nothing like the royal everyone knows. She was in disguise, blending in with other kids, until a flight attendant noticed something strange. What happened next left every passenger in absolute shock. And soon the whole of England was buzzing. Why was Princess Charlotte flying in disguise? And what did that flight attendant do to cause such an uproar? Here's the backstory. Princess Charlotte always followed the rules. Every single one of her moves was planned out. Every event was perfectly organised. But as she got older, she started to feel trapped, watching her school friends live completely normal lives. They were going to the mall, having sleepovers and taking regular family vacations during the holidays. Charlotte couldn't help but feel left out. She desperately wanted to be like them just for a little while. Her best friend in the world, Asa, had recently moved all the way to Scotland. They had seen each other every single day at school, but now they were limited to chats at lunch or passing notes via teachers. Charlotte missed her terribly. She desperately wanted to go visit her during the school holidays, but she knew the strict royal protocol would absolutely forbid it. So that's when she hatched her secret plan. She would visit Isla completely on her own. No fancy royal cars, no bodyguards, no cameras, just a normal trip. But to pull this off, she needed to travel just like a regular teenager. She made the choice to fly on a commercial airline, not the royal jet. The plan felt risky but incredibly exciting. Charlotte didn't want to be a rebel forever. All she wanted was a single moment of real freedom, one small adventure, before returning to her life in the palace. Charlotte knew everything had to go perfectly. If anybody discovered her plan, she would be in massive trouble. So she started by choosing simple clothes, no royal gowns or flashy shoes. She picked out a pair of jeans, a simple hoodie and some comfy sneakers. She tied her hair back and put on a cap to hide her face. Honestly, she looked just like any other teen heading off on a trip. And she even used her own pocket money to book the flight. She was careful not to use her full name. Instead, she booked the ticket under Charlotte Wales to help her stay anonymous. She deliberately chose a budget airline, hoping she would blend right in with the regular crowd. She packed light, taking only a small backpack. Inside were some snacks, a book, and her phone. She reached out to Ila's mom using a school tablet, explained her plan, and asked for help. Iceland's mom agreed to the plan and promised to pick her up from the airport. Charlotte felt a flutter of nerves, but she was also buzzing with excitement to sneak away. For her cover story, she pretended she had a long study session. She slipped out quietly through a side door at school, her heart pounding in her chest. The moment she finally stepped onto the plane, she couldn't help but smile. Her big adventure had officially begun. Little did she know her flawless plan was just about to go terribly wrong, because one person on that plane was about to turn her quiet adventure into an absolute nightmare. Charlotte stepped off the bus and glanced around the chaotic airport. People were moving everywhere, some carrying large suitcases. Others were busy talking on their phones. She clutched her small backpack tightly and just followed the signs for check-in. Her heart was pounding, but she noticed that nobody was even looking at her. That gave her a much-needed boost of confidence. The check-in agent printed her boarding pass and just smiled. It felt so good to be treated like any other passenger. Keeping her head down, she made her way towards security. Once at the checkpoint, she carefully placed all her things into a plastic tray. Her backpack, phone and shoes all went through the scanner. She walked through the gate, and the guard simply waved her through. Nobody stopped her, nobody asked her any questions. She was actually doing it. After security, she explored the terminal a bit, then sat in the food court eating a sandwich. She watched all the people walking by. Some rushed for their gates, others waited around with coffee in hand. She browsed in a few shops, touched a soft scarf in one, and even smiled at a group of teenagers laughing nearby. Charlotte felt truly free. She was alone, but she was so happy. No cameras, no guards, just regular people. For once, she actually felt like one of them, making the risk totally worth it. When her boarding group was called, Charlotte calmly joined the line, moving slowly with her ticket in hand. The gate agent scanned her ticket and waved her through. She walked down the jet bridge and finally stepped onto the plane. She had a window seat. She was so excited to look out the window. A woman was already sitting in the middle seat, and she looked really calm and friendly. Charlotte offered her a little smile as she sat down. The woman introduced herself as Emma, explaining she worked for a company and was heading to Edinburgh for business. A moment later, a young man took the aisle seat next to them. He introduced himself as Jake. He was a student who was heading home for a break. Both of them seemed kind and very relaxed, so Charlotte listened to their stories and joined the conversation. She told them about her school and that she was visiting a friend. Then Emma kindly offered her some gum. Jake even showed her some photos on his phone. They chatted about books, travel, and funny stories from school. Nobody seemed to think she was anyone unusual. They treated her like any other teenager, which made Charlotte feel safe and incredibly welcome. The seat was a little cramped and her knees were touching the one in front, but she didn't care. It felt real. She just looked out the window and smiled. This was her moment of freedom, and she was soaking it all in. Charlotte was glowing, believing her plan was foolproof. But someone else on that flight was watching her closely, and they were not impressed. The drama was about to unfold. Charlotte settled into her seat, feeling completely happy. She watched the clouds, ate her snack, and relaxed to the soothing sound of the engines. A little later she was feeling a bit peckish again. With a polite smile, she asked the flight attendant Rebecca for another snack. Rebecca looked annoyed, snapping, "Wait your turn like everyone else." Her tone was icy, leaving Charlotte wondering what she did wrong. Then the sun began to shine too brightly through the window. Charlotte asked if the shade could be lowered. Rebecca just glared and said, "Deal with it! I'm busy." Stunned, Charlotte just fell silent and stared down at her hands. Later her juice spilled on the tray. She gasped for a napkin, but Rebecca was there instantly, saying, "You're clumsy. Watch what you're doing." It made Charlotte feel terrible. Feeling cold, she then asked for a blanket. Rebecca crossed her arms. "This isn't a hotel," she scoffed. Her words were just so sharp. Charlotte was polite and spoke softly, but Rebecca's rude attitude continued. She even mumbled something about spoiled teenagers. A few people nearby turned their heads. Emma looked worried, and Jake frowned. Others were definitely starting to notice something was wrong. The plane began to shake a little as it hit some light turbulence. Charlotte's phone slipped from her lap, landing in the aisle. She quickly reached down to grab it before it could move far away. Just then Rebecca walked by with a tray. She nearly tripped, looked furious, and said, "You are always in the way." Her voice was loud and others heard it. Charlotte just sat up and secured her phone. She kept quiet, but Rebecca didn't stop. She stood in the aisle and said, "What kind of family raised you? You don't know how to act on a plane." Her throat tightened. She looked down, whispering, "I just wanted to be normal." Rebecca laughed a bit, saying, "Normal? You act like a little princess who thinks she's owed everything." The cabin went silent. Emma was visibly shocked. Jake stared at Rebecca. A man nearby said, "That's not okay." Charlotte turned back to the window. Her eyes were watery. She wiped them with her sleeve and stayed quiet. She wanted this trip to feel fun and free, but now it just felt difficult. The happiness she had felt just hours ago was quickly fading away. Charlotte tried to stay quiet and polite, hoping the ordeal would end, but her secret was about to explode in the worst way possible. The discovery. Emma kept thinking about Charlotte, the way she talked and sat, her soft voice. It reminded Emma of someone. Then it clicked. She had seen that face before somewhere on TV or in the news. She looked again now, positive it was Princess Charlotte. But Emma kept silent. She knew Charlotte was trying to stay anonymous, but she couldn't let Rebecca's rude behaviour go unchecked. She quietly took out her phone and started recording. She kept the camera low. Her video caught Rebecca's harsh tone and how she carelessly moved right past Charlotte. Charlotte stayed quiet, her gaze out the window. She didn't want attention, but Jake, sitting across the aisle, was watching too. He leaned in, whispering, "She looks like someone important." Emma nodded. She thought so too. They both started to realise Charlotte had just wanted an ordinary trip without any fuss. No titles, no special perks, just a normal day. Emma kept recording. She knew people needed to see this, not because Charlotte was famous, but because no one should be treated that way. Emma felt sad watching her. But she also knew help was coming. Now someone would have to listen. Once the plane landed, Emma uploaded the video. She was careful not to show Charlotte's face. She simply wrote, "Young royal, treated badly on flight by staff." The video focused on Rebecca and her tone. People could hear every single word. Jake also shared his story, writing a short post on his school page. He wrote about a quiet girl who stayed calm even while being treated unfairly. He didn't use Charlotte's name, but readers quickly connected the details. Soon people started sharing both posts. Some left comments and others started making guesses. Someone pointed out the girl looked like Princess Charlotte. Another person matched her voice from an old video. The speculation just kept growing. The hashtag Princess Charlotte Flight appeared and just exploded. More people joined the conversation. Some were shocked by how Rebecca acted. Others were proud of Charlotte for being so kind through it all. People from the same flight added their own photos. A few had seen Charlotte but stayed quiet to respect her privacy. At this point they knew the story had to be told. Princess Charlotte's simple trip had just blown up into a massive event. The world was finally seeing how brave she'd been during the entire flight. Emma had just hit record on her phone, thinking she was simply helping a young girl in need. She had no clue she was about to make history and completely change the narrative. The media response was instant and explosive. The second those posts went live, the news spread like wildfire. Major news outlets immediately picked up the story. Some just shared the raw video, while others wrote about how incredibly brave the young girl appeared to be. Many were absolutely certain the girl in the hoodie was Princess Charlotte. Of course, the royal palace found out almost instantly. They had no clue Charlotte was flying by herself. The royal protection team was stunned. They started making urgent calls, scrambling to find her immediately. British Airways also saw the viral story. Their phones immediately started ringing off the hook. Executives quickly assembled to manage the growing crisis. They had to piece together what really happened and figure out their official response. This was getting serious. People all over the nation were furious. Parents everywhere were flooding social media with messages. They insisted no young girl should ever be treated that way. Royal fans were quick to chime in too. They voiced their support for Charlotte, praising her poise under pressure. The hashtag just kept trending, with more people talking about it by the hour. Some demanded the airline take action immediately. Others simply sent kind words directly to Charlotte. What began as a simple solo trip was now the #1 story of the day. The entire world was watching. Charlotte remained silent, but her resilience shined through in every single clip. She never asked for the spotlight, but the spotlight found her anyway. While the plane was still in the air, the crew started hearing whispers. That's when one of them saw the video playing on a passenger's phone. It showed Rebecca snapping at the quiet young girl in seat 14A. Soon other crew members were gathered around to see it. One flight attendant bolted to tell the captain. He immediately got on the radio to contact ground control. He reported that they might have Princess Charlotte on board and that a serious incident was taking place. Word spread like lightning through the staff. Some looked confused, others were clearly nervous. Rebecca was still moving through the cabin when a colleague told her the girl could be royalty. At first, Rebecca just refused to believe it. She laughed it off dismissively, but when she took a second closer look at Charlotte, her whole face just froze. In that one moment, she realized everything. Her smile completely disappeared. She stood there motionless and silent before sitting down in the crew area, looking pale and quiet. The rest of the flight crew wouldn't even speak to her. The tension in the air was palpable. On the ground, British Airways teams started coordinating with the royal staff. They needed to perform damage control immediately. They began writing a public statement and formally reviewing the crew's behaviour. The mood on the flight totally shifted. What was a normal day now felt heavy and tense. Everyone was just waiting anxiously for the plane to land. As the plane prepared for landing, Charlotte just sat quietly by her window. She was completely unaware that the whole world was now watching and waiting for her arrival. Landing and the aftermath. When the plane landed in Edinburgh, the atmosphere felt incredibly tense. Charlotte remained silent in her seat, holding her backpack close to her chest. Emma and Jake remained close by, offering comfort with their steady presence. Just outside at the airport gate, the Royal Protection Team was standing by. They were dressed in plain clothes and looked extremely serious. They approached slowly, simply giving Charlotte a small, quiet nod. They didn't rush her. They seemed to know she had been through enough. Charlotte simply followed their lead without saying a word. Outside, the family of Charlotte's friend was waiting with warm smiles. But the second they saw the massive crowd and cameras, those smiles just disappeared. Reporters were already at the airport waiting. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the young princess. The family just looked completely baffled by it all. They clearly hadn't expected all this chaos. Back inside the airport, British Airways staff immediately pulled Rebecca aside. They informed her she was suspended from all duties until the matter was fully investigated. Rebecca just looked completely shocked. She sat down in the staff area, burying her head in her hands. Later that same evening, the airline's CEO stood before a crowd of reporters. Speaking clearly, he announced the company was investigating exactly what took place on that flight. He also said every passenger must be treated with care and respect. He promised serious changes and offered a formal apology. It was obvious the airline was in full damage control mode. Meanwhile, people all over the world had started talking about Charlotte's flight. So many people shared kind words for her online. They said she showed incredible strength and poise during a very difficult situation. Many called her brave for just trying something so simple by herself. So many people seemed to really understand her motivation. They understood she just wanted to have one normal trip like any other kid. Many even shared stories about their own children and why giving kids space to grow is so important. Others, however, were focused on Rebecca's behaviour. They were just furious that a flight attendant would treat any child in such a dismissive way. People insisted that being polite and gentle should be a fundamental part of the job. Many called for improved training and much more care for young travellers. Then other passengers from the flight began to weigh in. They confirmed that Charlotte was quiet, kind, and incredibly well behaved. She never caused any trouble, followed every rule to the letter, and said thank you every single time. A brand new hashtag quickly started trending. People used the tag "Let Royals Be Kids" to rally in support of Charlotte. The press wrote about how royal kids deserve a chance to live like normal children, and even some celebrities chimed in. They said Charlotte's experience highlighted the immense pressure of living under a microscope. Although Charlotte tried to blend in, her story became a huge topic of conversation as the cameras rolled, with everyone wanting to see the brave young princess. But the biggest shock was still on its way, and it was one nobody saw coming. The fallout was immediate. After the truth got out, things unfolded rapidly, and British Airways took action without delay. Rebecca was immediately suspended from her duties and was later terminated by the airline. The airline issued a formal public apology declaring that no person should ever be treated that way, regardless of their status, and announced a top-to-bottom review of their staff training. They gave their word to do much better and to treat every single passenger with dignity and respect. They even implemented a new discreet system for identifying high-profile passengers so that no one is ever caught off guard again. Charlotte also gave a rare, quiet interview where she explained that she just wanted to feel normal for one day. She wasn't asking for special treatment, just simple kindness, and her words struck a chord with so many people. Kate and William also responded, expressing their hope that their children could enjoy simple moments without constant scrutiny. Rebecca also released her own message. She expressed her deep regret for her actions and confessed that she had allowed stress to overwhelm her, but her behaviour had consequences and she lost her job. That one moment became a major turning point for her, and the whole flight incident left a permanent mark. Many other airlines paid attention to the story and decided it was time to make some real changes, so staff now receive updated training focusing on empathy. One airline even introduced a new course called Respectful Service, created specifically to handle situations just like this one. They established clear procedures on how to treat every young traveller with care, and behind the scenes staff were given guidance on handling special guests who prefer to keep a low profile. Some people have even started calling them the Charlotte Guidelines. The people at the centre of it all grew too. Charlotte met the moment with a quiet strength, and she learned about people and how much actions truly matter. She came out of the experience a stronger and more thoughtful person, and for Rebecca, this was also the beginning of a new chapter. After losing her job, she took time to reflect on her behaviour and later started working for an organisation that teaches empathy and customer service to travel professionals. Ultimately, Charlotte's secret flight taught the world a valuable lesson. One courageous decision ended up changing so many lives. If this story moved you, hit like and please share it with friends. And subscribe for more true stories that inspire real change and compassion.